welcome to Pixels and Pinfalls. My name is Edward and this is part 3 of the Simply Sega series. Part 2 saw us playing a little bit of the Sonic Mega Collection Plus on the PlayStation 2, but part 1 saw us having a look at the early days of Sega leading up to what was coined the beginning of the console wars between predominantly them and Nintendo, starting in the early to mid 1980s. And so far things have not been going brilliantly for Sega. In some markets they have been number 3 behind Nintendo and NEC, and even behind Atari at times as well. So, can the launch of the Mega Drive turn their fortunes around? Let's have a look, shall we? So, the Mega Drive was the third home console for Sega after the SG-1000 and the Master System before it. And it was released in Japan in October of 1988. This was then followed up with a release in North America in August of '89, and in Europe and sort of the rest of the world in September 1990. Now, overall it sold in excess of 30 million units, which is quite a step up from what Sega had been doing beforehand. And this kind of ranges from its initial release in 1988 right up to 1997. And this sort of ranges right from its release in 1988 right up to 1997, when Sega sort of ceased official production and sales of the console. For comparison's sake, Nintendo's Super NES or SNES sold just over 49 million units worldwide between 1990 and 2003. So a slightly longer window, but significantly better sales still, unfortunately. However, as I've already said, this was a huge step up for Sega in terms of their own sales compared to what they had been doing before. Now, production of the Mega Drive started pretty much as soon as the Master System was released. And what they decided to do was expand on the technology that they were using and wanted to incorporate the 16-bit microprocessor within this unit. So much so that that even became the look of the console, the 16-bit actually being emblazoned on the top of the console unit itself. And the idea really was to, as Sega had done before, draw heavily from their arcade influence and put the Sega System 16 from arcade units into a home console unit. It was initially unveiled in June of 1988 as the Mark V or Mark V, but this was very quickly changed to the Mega Drive. However, David Rosen, who was one of the people in charge of Sega over in America, wanted the Genesis name used in the American market because they were seeing this as a new beginning and a rebirth for Sega in the home console market. Hence why the Mega Drive was known as the Sega Genesis in the North American market. Now, the Mega Drive did continue to do fairly poorly, unfortunately, in Japan, but after an initial rocky start in the North American market, things picked up very, very quickly. Within their first year, they were targeted of selling 1 million units, and unfortunately they didn't manage to meet this figure. They did actually only manage to ship about 400,000 units. So initially what they tried to do was package other things in with the Mega Drive, or the Genesis as it was in their market. These things being an online banking system and an answer phone machine system known as the Sega Mega Answer. Now, that first bit is very interesting. An online banking system on a console in the early 90s. That is pretty revolutionary. Yes, it didn't really take off as I'm sure Sega wanted it to, but that is some out-of-the-box thinking right there. Now, although things were a bit dodgy in Japan and initially in North America, things fared a lot better in Europe. And in fact, in the UK alone, when it was released, the Mega Drive sold in excess of 40,000 units between September and December. That doesn't sound a huge deal by today's numbers, but back then that was quite monumental, and this is just in the UK market. Now, as I said, the beginning of life over in North America was a bit of a rocky one, not managing to hit that 1 million units in the first year. So the then CEO, Michael Katz, was replaced by Thomas Kaczynski. And basically he brought in a 4-point plan. Point 1 was to reduce the price of the console. Point 2 was to bring in a specific US team to develop games specifically for the United States market. And these largely consisted of sports games. Point 3 was to expand on their already aggressive advertising campaign. The one where they were basically saying that the Genesis does what Nintendo don't. That marketing campaign. And point 4 was, instead of bundling the console with Altered Beast as it had done when it was launched, it was now going to be bundled with a new game, Sonic the Hedgehog. And obviously Sonic was brought in as the Sega mascot as a direct rival for Mario. They saw how well Nintendo was able to shift units just with Mario and that branding, so they decided to create their own mascot. And as Sonic games are still being made even today, you've got to say that was a very, very savvy business plan. Now, with this 4-point plan in place, in the United States in Christmas of 1991, sales of the Genesis were nearly double the sales of the SNES system. And by January of 1992, Sega had 65% of the 16-bit market. The first time that Nintendo were not an industry leader in any of the aspects since 1985. This just goes to show what a huge success the Mega Drive was, especially in the United States. And this trend carried on. For the next 4 Christmases, Sega were able to outsell Nintendo. And in order to keep the Genesis or the Mega Drive relevant, Sega developed the Sega CD or the Mega CD, which sold 2.24 million units worldwide, and the Sega 32X, which sold 800,000 units. This was designed to kind of keep it in line with the next generation of consoles that were coming through, because by this point the Mega Drive's shelf life had come to its end, or very close to. However, what Sega unfortunately did was they shifted their focus towards the Sega Saturn far too early. Sega still had 43% of the overall market in the United States in 1995 and managed to shift 2 million units. But Kaczynski himself later said that they could have sold in excess of another 300,000 units if they had not taken their eye off the ball and carried on production at the rate that they should have done. As I said, there was far too much focus on the next generation, the Sega Saturn, and that is inevitably what kind of killed off the Mega Drive, probably a little bit too soon. In mid-1996, Kaczynski actually resigned as CEO in Sega of America, and this was mainly due to tensions with Sega globally and the fact that they weren't still investing in their main cash cow, the Mega Drive or the Genesis. So what happened with the Sega Saturn and the Dreamcast down the line? Well, you're just going to have to wait and see for part 5 of this series, where we look beyond the Saturn, the Dreamcast, and indeed beyond the console life of Sega to see what they are doing now. Needless to say, they have not hit the heady heights since the Mega Drive was released. In 2009, IGN named it the 5th best console ever, and that was really the halcyon days for Sega as a company. Join me next month where I play through some of the Mega Drive mini games just to give you a feel for what a brilliant console this is. And as I said before, part 5, which will be the month after, we will look at the life of Sega beyond the Mega Drive. And then I have something special planned in December for the final part, part 6 of this series. But for now, thank you very much for watching. My name has been Edward, this has been Pixels and Pinfalls, and I shall see you again very, very soon. Goodbye. Thanks very much for watching. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. To keep up to speed with everything we're doing, you can find us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter. If you wish to support us financially, you can do so over on Patreon for as little as $1 per month. Finally, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and ring the bell icon so that you don't miss out on any future videos. Till next time, we'll see you very soon. Goodbye.